Hello, we are back and it's time to do our foundation. We've already done our eyes and you can get the instructions for that from the video that I did just prior to this one. So the first thing we're going to do for foundation is a primer. You must prime your face. This makeup cannot budge for hours. The one I recommend is the NYX The Face Glue. It really does look like glue and it kind of feels like glue, but it's made for your skin instead of your face. So we're going to use a healthy amount of this because we want to make sure that our coverage is good and stays in place all day. We're going to rub this on our face, down our neck, because we always put makeup on our neck for competition. Get this real good. And now we want to let it dry. You can wave your hands on your face. You can use a fan. We want to let it dry and get a little bit tacky. So once that is done, I will come right back. Okay, we are back. As you can see, my skin is sticky. It grips my fingers really well, which is what we want with our primer. The next step is going to be our foundation. I'm using the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. You want to use a shade that is at least 2 shades darker than your skin tone. You're going to feel like you look crazy, and up close you probably are, but for the stage it is absolutely necessary to go darker because those stage lights are going to wash you out. It doesn't matter what brand you use, but I would recommend using something matte instead of glowy or dewy, and I would stay in your color family. So if you are naturally a neutral skin tone, I would go 2 shades darker and still keep a neutral undertone. If you have a warm undertone, 2 shades darker, but still keep a warm undertone. Cool undertone, the same thing. Now, I don't recommend putting the makeup directly on your face because we don't want too much and then it will look cakey and gross. So what I recommend is to squeeze it directly onto the back of your hand, just like that. And we're going to use a beauty blender. Now, the way I wet my beauty blender and get it prepared for use is run it under the faucet till it's completely drenched, then completely squeeze it out, then grab a towel and squeeze out the rest of the excess moisture because we just want it dampened. We don't want it dark or wet, sorry. Now, we're going to start, we put a little bit on the back of our beauty blender, and you can use your hand to kind of get the excess off, and we're going to start applying it to our face. We don't rub, we bounce. Now, you can use your hands if you would prefer. You can also use a brush if you would prefer. I just like the finish that a beauty blender gives me because it looks like real skin for me. And that's the way it works. We're going to bounce this foundation all over our face, and then we're going to run it down our neck. Now be careful around your eyes. We don't want to mess up the work that we've already done with our eyes. And in that case, a brush or your hand may be a little bit easier if you're not super comfortable with a beauty blender. When I'm finished with this, I'll be right back. Okay, I have covered my entire face. I feel orange. I kind of look orange. And now we're just going to take the excess that we had and start working it down our neck. If your ears are going to be showing, you may want to consider putting some of the excess on your ears. But we're going to go down our neck using any leftover product that we have on our hand and on our brush or on our sponge, whatever you choose to use to apply. Now, if you think that you don't have enough coverage, you are welcome to do another layer of foundation. And I think I'm going to do that now, and I will be right back. Okay, I have put on 2 layers of foundation. And I am still taking the excess and blending it down my neck, because we don't want just a line of demarcation where we have our orangish darker foundation and then a pasty pale neck. Nobody wants to see that. Okay, we have our foundation on. The next thing we are going to do is contour. We're going to use a darker shade for that. You can use any brand you want, but I do recommend starting out with a cream, with a liquid. This is the one I'm using. It's a wand. It's a lot easier to apply, in my opinion. We're going to start at the top of the ear, or where the top of the ear is on the face. So right there. And we are going to angle it down towards the corner of our lip, but we're not going all the way down to the corner of our lip. And you're going to want this to be pretty dark because we need to see dimension on our faces. We've put all this foundation on. It's covered. It may feel cakey, but it does not look cakey. And we are going to create some dimension in our face now. Right down from the top of the ear, angling towards the corner of the mouth on both sides of our face. We also are going to put it right up here on our forehead, all the way. You can make these lines connect if you want to, but I like the look of a lifted, higher, tighter cheekbone, so I'm not going to connect them. We're also going to do the outside of our nose because we want our nose to look thinner, straighter, more pronounced. The last place we're going to put contour is right on our jawline. We want to cover up that double chin, y'all. We don't want anybody seeing that from the stage. So all the way across the bottom. If you do not have as much of a pronounced chin as I do, you can skip putting your contour right under the chin. So we're going to take a beauty blender, the same thing we've done. We've gotten it super wet. We squeezed it out with our hand. We squeezed it out with a towel, and we're going to start blending. To do that, we're just going to use the side. One important tip is when you're blending your cheek contour, do not blend down. We want to lift the face, so we are only going to blend in an upward motion. You see how that automatically lifted my cheek, lifted my face. So just blend in an upward motion. We're not pulling it down at all. This is something I would recommend using a brush or a beauty blender for. I would not recommend using your hands. Same with the contour on the forehead. We're blending towards the hairline. We're not pulling it down. So we're pressing it and slightly, we're not rubbing it backwards, but we're pressing in that direction. This is going to automatically give you a more pronounced center of the face, which is what we want to focus on for the stage. Okay, our nose, we're doing the same thing. We're not moving it into the middle. We're pulling it down. We're bouncing it in that direction. You can even take it up next to your eye, just a little bit, to give yourself more of a pronounced nose up to the eye. And then for the jaw, we're pushing down. We're not pushing up towards the face. We're pushing down the neck. And do you see, this gives me a good, strong jawline. Now, if you're like me and you have a little bit extra here that you kind of don't want people to look at, take your contour and just draw a little bit of an upside down triangle on your neck. Use your beauty blender and just blend that down. You don't want to spread it out too much. We just want to darken this area so it lifts. So you see I have lifted cheekbones. The contour here brings more attention to the center of the face, and the jawline is more pronounced, and I have somewhat camouflaged this extra neck meat that I don't particularly want to show. Our next step is going to be concealer. Now, most people wear concealer. It usually matches your skin tone. We are specifically going for something 2 shades lighter than your natural skin tone. So you're going 2 shades darker than your natural skin tone for your foundation. We're going 2 shades lighter for our concealer. You can use any concealer you'd like, but I would recommend for it to be matte and to not be a serum. A serum is not going to have that full coverage. We want to just cover all of it. Now, for more mature eyes like mine, I believe most of us in the chorus have a more mature eye. We're not going to start right up here. We are going to pull it down to about the middle of the nose and put a little triangle there. We are also going to put just a little bit of a line at the corner of the eye, and that's going to help us to lift the eye. So I'll do the same thing on the other side. Little triangle, dot there. And now we're going to blend this in using another, you can use the same beauty blender you've been using the entire time. I just use separate ones because I get really messy. And we're going to blend. Now, we're going to blend it up towards the eye. We are not pulling it down the face. We want to leave it just in the eye area where the eye can be nice and lifted. And when you get to that outer corner, you're just going to move it up. Just blend it up without going too far out. So you see the difference how my eye under is much brighter. It's lifted. And we're going to do the same thing to the other side. Start by moving that concealer up towards the eye. Working out, lifting on the outside corner. And if you see it like that, you can just blend it in. If it starts just kind of, there's a line of demarcation, just blend it in. So now we have our lifted eyes. They're much brighter, they're tighter, they're lifted. So let's do that to the face some more. We're going to take our concealer right here. We're going to do an upside down triangle. Try not to make it very big and very wide across the face. Just enough, because we're going to spread that out and it's going to move a long way. And you notice earlier we contoured the outer corners of the nose, or the outer edges. So we're going to take our concealer and pull it right down the center. And this is going to contour our nose to look pointed. Also, we have mature skin. We want to cover these little marks right here. And we want to lift up at the mouth. This again is going to help lift our face. So using the same beauty blender, we're going to blend up here. Now try not to spread it out too much. Just go in a little circle around on the middle of your forehead. And then blend out the edges as you need to. Okay, we automatically have a brighter forehead. Go very easy, just straight up and down on the nose, because we don't want to take away the contour that we did earlier. So you see my nose is automatically slimmer and pushed forward. Now, let's do the mouth next. We want to blend up towards our hairline, up towards our temple, to lift that mouth. The mouth is lifted. Now let's do these corners. I don't know what you call them, but I call them mouth lines. We're going to just blend that to meet the highlighter at the edge of our lip, right around where we get those lines right there. We're not moving inwards, we're moving outwards. And that covers lifting our T-zone. Now, we want to make these cheekbones a little bit sharper. So we're going to take our concealer, and we can kind of see the line where we put the concealer to be darker. Right under that, in the between your jaw concealer and your cheek concealer, we're going to put a line of concealer on both sides. Now, do not blend down, again, blend up, because we are lifting our face. And this is going to give you a more defined cheekbone. Can you tell the difference? Let's do this side. Beautiful. Lifted, defined. Looks great. Now we've done a lot to our skin. We've put a lot of stuff on it, so we're going to go ahead and use a layer of setting spray just to kind of re-moisturize, wake up our skin again. You can use any kind you want, but I would recommend something that's sweat-proof, waterproof. Let it dry. You can fan your face with your hands. You can use a fan, anything you need to use to help it dry. And I will be right back when mine is dry. Okay, now that our setting spray is dry, I did add just a little bit more contour on my nose because I wanted it to be a little more defined. The next step we're going to do is my personal favorite, and it might not be for everybody, but the next step we're going to do is blush. I'm using the NYX Buttermelt blush in the shade For the Butter. And the question is, do I need more blush? If you have to ask the question, the answer is yes. But your makeup committee will let you know if you need more, if you're not sure. We are not putting this all in the middle. We are starting on the outer part of our eye and blending it up. Some people may remember this from the 80s, but we're going up to the temple, and we're not going too much further than that. Now, you may be thinking, oh my goodness, that's dark. I look like a clown. And that may be the case. Take your foundation blender or your brush and just gently press over it to calm it down. And that will help diffuse the edges so that we don't just have sharp lines of blush on our face. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. I like this Buttermelt blush from NYX because it's so incredibly pigmented that just a tiny little bit goes a very long way. So again, we're just going to diffuse that a little bit with our foundation blender that we used, to just so you can see the blush is still there. It's very apparent, but it's just softer. It's not as harsh. Another little trick I like to do, and it's not required, just above the tip of your nose, right there, I like to just take some leftover blush and put it right over that spot. It gives you just a little bit of a rosier, more flush look. I think that was a little bit much, so I'm going to cover it a little bit with my foundation brush. So now you just have more color on your face instead of just slash of color, slash of color. Just a tiny little bit on the nose. Gives you just a little something extra. All right, now we've done our blush, we've done our concealer. We don't want that going anywhere, so we are going to set it. You can use either a translucent setting powder or a pink setting powder. The reason I like pink is because it brightens the face more in those specific areas where we put it. But for today, I'm going to be using the translucent concealer. I would recommend using a powder puff for this. You can get them rather inexpensively. We're going to take some and put it in the lid of our powder jar. We're going to put some on the tip of our brush, but that's too much. So we're going to tap the excess on our hand. So we're left with much less. Now we're going to press that into the corner of our eye, working our way outward, right where we put the concealer. This is going to help keep our concealer from caking and from creasing. So to do the other eye, I'm going to take some more powder on the brush. That's too much, or on my sponge, that's too much. I'm going to tap out the excess on my hand, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now, the reason I'm using translucent is because we don't want anywhere we put concealer to crease. That is not a look that we're after. So we're going to repeat those steps right on the forehead where we put our concealer and right down the middle of the nose. Okay? And we'll do the same thing. Get some more on the end of our powder puff. Wipe off the excess on our hand, and right on these outside corners, we're going to press it more. We're not moving this sponge in any way. We're simply pressing up and down. And we'll do that to the other side. Now, if you feel like you have just a little bit too much on, like you've baked instead of just pressed in some powder, you can just take a light brush, a light fluffy brush, and just gently brush off the excess, okay? So once we're done with that, the last step is highlighter. Now, we want to glow, but only in certain spots. Take any highlighter you like. I personally like this one from the Complex Culture palette, but you can use literally anything you want as long as it's shiny. I wouldn't go for like a glitter. I would just go for more of like a shimmer. So we're going to take this shimmer on a smaller fluffy foundation brush, and we're going right here. Right where you can feel your occipital bone, just right there on top of it. Do not go past the eye too much because we don't want just all the way back. So can you see the difference? I'm glowing, it's beautiful, I'm flat. So we're going to do that to the other side, right at that occipital bone. And it's going to overlap with your blush a little bit, and that is okay. So you see, I'm shimmery. Here's another little trick, because you want your face to look highlighted and glowing everywhere, not just on your cheekbones. So taking just a tiny, tiny bit, I'm actually going to use my finger for this one. We're going to go right above the middle of the eye. Right below the eyebrow, in the middle of the eye, just very, very lightly, very carefully. And right below, kind of like where our eye bags start, on that very, very fragile skin. So now, no matter which way I turn, my eye is glowing. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Right above the eyebrow, in the middle. Right below the eyebrow, in the middle. And right below the eye, in the middle. Now, your eyes are going to glow no matter which angle you turn. To complete the rest of our highlight, we're going to put some more on the brush, go just down the middle of the nose. This is going to really bring it out, create movement on your face. You're glowing, you're glowing. You can even put just a little bit extra on the tip of your nose just to glow. Next, we're going to finish up our eyes and do our lips. Okay, let's finish our eyes because I promised those would be done after we did our foundation. We're going to take this same purple that we used up here on the same brush, but we're going to be a lot lighter with it, and we're just going to brush it under our lash line. Not on your lashes, just under, all the way. This is going to give you that eyeliner look, but it's going to flow more naturally with your eyeshadow and not look so harsh. All the way. Start at the outer corner. Go all the way. You can start at the inner corner if you're more comfortable with that, but I like that starting in the outer corner makes it a little thicker on the outer corner, and then as you drag it in, it gets thinner. One last step for our eyes before we're completely done. We're going to take our flat packing brush that we've been using for our eyes and our glitter shadow. Take just a little bit just on the tip of your brush and apply it right in that inner corner. Just right there where your eye curves around. You can add a little more if you want. You can add a little less. This is a personal preference, but it does brighten up the eye just a little bit more because we are using a pretty dark purple shadow. Now, this particular one, since it has blue and purple flecks in it, is going to pull the purple out of our eyeshadow, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing because it makes everything blend together seamlessly. Just a little bit more. So now you have more of a glow on the inside of your eye. The last thing we're going to do is the lips, and I will be right back for that. Okay, the last part is our lips, and lips can be done in several different ways. I'm just going to show you how I do mine for honestly every day, but also how I would do them for the stage. We want to make sure our lips are clean, but we don't want to put any extra product. So just take a cotton swab. See, look what's coming off my lips. Just take a cotton swab, one of these. You could use a makeup wipe if you're very careful, because we don't want to take off any of the work we've done with our foundation. Okay, so I have just wiped all the foundation off my lips. And we're going to use a lip liner. I usually don't use a lip liner in my everyday looks, But for this, we want to have something to color in. We're creating an outline to color in our lips. So you can use any shade you want. I prefer just a neutral shade because then it doesn't stand out, and we don't want that with our lips. What we're going to do is called outlining our lips. We're going to go right outside the lip line. So you see where the line of my lips is, and I'm going right outside of that. Okay, now we're going to do the top. We're going to go right outside of our lip line. And this is a great opportunity if you want your lips to look thicker, to overline just a little bit more. Because remember, we are creating a shape that we are going to color in. Okay, now that we have overlined our lips, we're going to take any red lipstick. It just needs to be a true red. What looks true red on me might not look true red on you. So just use your best judgment. If you have warm toned skin, you're going to want like a yellow based red. If you have cool toned skin, you're going to want more of a blue based. You can go to Ulta and ask someone to help you, and they will be able to help you do that. You can use a stick. You can use a liquid. You can use a stain as long as it's a true bright red. I personally prefer a fluid because I think they stay longer. And once they dry, they're there. So we're just going to the edges of where we lined our lips and coloring it in. You can even go over the lip liner just a bit if you would prefer. And there we have a good red lip. Make sure it dries before you start doing anything else to your face. Now, once everything is dry, we don't want it moving at all day, even if we get sweaty. So we're going to use a good, solid finishing spray. Any brand is fine as long as it's sweat-proof or waterproof. And we are going to drench that face. I like the finer mists. I feel like you get more coverage without big drops landing on your face. Do not open your eyes. You want to keep your eyes closed while you fan your face dry. And this is going to take a while because we really drenched our faces in this setting spray. So just keep waving your hands. Remember, we put it over all of our foundation, over our contour, our highlighter, our blush, our lips, and most importantly, our eyes. We used an eyeshadow primer, but we need to make sure what's on top doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just about dry, and this is your final look. Just remember, you will have lashes on, and you will look amazing, ladies. Go out there and break a lip.